The FBI is warning police departments in California that Iran may be planning a drone strike on the American West Coast. Not in the Middle East, not against a military base in a distant war zone, but potentially on American soil. According to reports citing recent intelligence assessments, unmanned aerial vehicles could be launched from an unidentified vessel sitting somewhere off the California coastline. Targets remain unspecified. The FBI's Los Angeles field office declined to comment. At the same time, oil prices surged more than 6% in a single trading session. Diesel prices climbed to $4.81 a gallon, the highest level since December 2022. And while all of this was unfolding, while the global threat map was shifting in real time, the President of the United States stood before a crowd in Cincinnati and described the war in Iran as a little excursion. Two realities. One country. On one side, the administration insists everything is going according to plan. Officials claim Iran's navy has been destroyed and that victory is already within reach. On the other side, oil depots are burning in Oman. More than 100 Hezbollah rockets have slammed into northern Israel in a single barrage. Cargo ships are being attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. And now there is a domestic security warning suggesting the war may be reaching American territory. This isn't just a story about military strength. It's a story about the growing gap between what the public is being told and what appears to be happening on the ground. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down how this conflict escalated so quickly, why the administration's own messaging is beginning to contradict itself, and why the global environment today may be significantly more dangerous than it was just 2 weeks ago. Let's think about it this way. Imagine you have a business partner. Without consulting you, he picks a fight with your largest supplier. There's no contingency plan, no secured supply chain, no backup strategy. Then he looks you in the eye and says everything is fine. Meanwhile, your delivery trucks are getting attacked on the highway while he's busy talking about something that happened years ago. How long would it take before you stop believing what he says? Because that's the dynamic many critics argue is unfolding right now between the administration and the American public. Between a president telling shipping companies to continue sending vessels through a dangerous choke point and the reality that even the U.S. Navy may not be able to fully guarantee their safety. So let's rewind the clock. This conflict did not begin with a major national address explaining the strategy to the American people. There was no large coalition announcement, no detailed congressional authorization, no extensive diplomatic buildup. Instead, according to multiple reports, the escalation happened rapidly, with decisions made quickly and unilaterally. The administration framed it as decisive action. Fast, surgical, controlled. The president called it an excursion, something that would last only a short time. Officials claimed Iran's navy was destroyed, its military crippled, and its leadership weakened. But Iran did not collapse. Instead, Iran began escalating, which raises the most important question any wartime leader must answer. What does victory actually look like? And when do American forces come home? Critics in Congress have already raised concerns about the lack of clear answers. Some lawmakers argue the administration never presented a detailed plan to Congress explaining the objectives, the timeline, or the exit strategy. And as the conflict continues, the costs are rising rapidly. Let's look at 3 key developments that show where the war actually stands. First, the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway carries roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply, making it one of the most important shipping lanes on Earth. The administration has publicly encouraged oil companies to keep sending tankers through the strait, insisting the threat has been reduced. But when asked whether mines or attacks could still occur, the response was far less certain. Meanwhile, multiple cargo ships traveling through the area have already been struck or damaged. Shipping companies have reportedly requested additional military escorts from the U.S. Navy, but reports suggest those requests have not always been granted. That contradiction alone highlights how complex the situation has become. Second, the regional conflict is expanding. Iranian drones reportedly struck fuel storage infrastructure in southern Oman, igniting massive fires. In northern Israel, Hezbollah launched a large barrage of rockets. Meanwhile, Houthi forces in Yemen are expected to increase attacks on shipping in the Red Sea, potentially opening a second major choke point for global energy supplies. Iranian officials have openly stated that their goal is to disrupt oil shipments to the United States and its allies. That's not the posture of a country preparing to surrender. It's the posture of a country trying to shift the economic cost of war onto its opponents. Third, the threat environment is changing. The FBI warning to California law enforcement about a possible drone threat represents a major shift in how this conflict could unfold. Intelligence officials believe Iran has both the desire and potentially the technical capability to launch low-cost unmanned systems from offshore vessels. These same types of drones have already proven effective in overwhelming air defenses across the Middle East. Whether such an attack actually happens remains uncertain. But the fact that authorities are preparing for the possibility shows how seriously the threat is being considered. Now compare the strategies of both sides. The administration's messaging has largely focused on destruction metrics: ships sunk, military assets destroyed, enemy leaders eliminated. But military damage alone doesn't always produce political victory. Meanwhile, Iran appears to be focusing on asymmetric warfare. Instead of matching American military power directly, it's using cheaper tools, drones, missiles, proxy groups, and economic pressure to increase the cost of the conflict. For example, a Shahed drone may cost tens of thousands of dollars. Intercepting that drone can cost hundreds of thousands or even millions. That imbalance becomes extremely significant when thousands of drones are involved. So what does all of this mean for ordinary people? First, energy prices. Oil price spikes ripple through the entire economy. Transportation costs rise. Food prices increase. Manufacturing becomes more expensive. Second, military risk. American service members are operating in a rapidly evolving battlefield where objectives are still being debated politically. And third, global stability. If key shipping routes like the Strait of Hormuz or the Red Sea become consistently unsafe, global supply chains could shift permanently. Even if fighting stops later, those structural changes often remain. Looking ahead, there are three possible paths. The first is managed de-escalation. Diplomatic channels open behind the scenes, perhaps through neutral intermediaries. Both sides claim some form of victory, and tensions slowly cool. The second is regional realignment. Countries across the Middle East begin reshaping their alliances based on what they've observed during the conflict. The third, and most dangerous, is escalation. Oil prices surge dramatically, regional proxy wars intensify, and the conflict expands into a much larger confrontation. No one wants that outcome, but it remains a possibility if the situation continues to spiral. What is already clear is that the strategic landscape has changed. Even if a ceasefire happens tomorrow, governments, corporations, and militaries across the world are studying what just happened. They're analyzing the effectiveness of drones, the vulnerability of shipping lanes, and the reliability of international security guarantees. Those lessons will shape global politics for years to come. So the question now becomes, did Iran manage to outmaneuver a much stronger military power through asymmetric strategy? Or did political leadership push the conflict forward without a fully developed long-term plan? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want deeper analysis on global conflicts, geopolitics, and the economic consequences of these events, make sure to subscribe. Because the next chapter of this story, whether it unfolds in the Strait of Hormuz, the Red Sea, or somewhere much closer to home, could arrive sooner than anyone expects. This content is commentary and analysis for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or geopolitical advice.